Level 1. The young emperor you wake before dawn beneath a dragon, carved canopy, while the palace outside your chamber is already on its knees. The air is cold against your face. Somewhere beyond the silk curtains, a bronze bell strikes once, then again, sending a low sound through the sleeping walls. Incense burns near the window, thick and sweet, mixing with the smell of old wood, candle smoke, and the faint dampness of morning stone. For one quiet breath, you almost forget who you are. Then the servants lower their heads, the doors open, and the empire remembers for you. You are the emperor now. A dark gold dragon robe waits on a carved stand beside your bed. The collar is heavy. The sleeves fall like curtains of power. When the servants dress you, no one looks directly into your eyes. Every movement around you has been practiced for generations. The belt tightened at your waist, the jade fastened at your side, the crown placed above your hair outside the chamber. Ministers kneel in the court hall with memorials in their hands. Beyond them, generals wait for orders. Beyond them, the city waits for your name to become law. But on the low table beside the window, there is another list. Not taxes, not armies, not border reports, names, women of the inner palace, noble consorts, lower concubines, daughters of families who have already begun to dream through them. Each name is written neatly in black ink, but one name has a faint red mark beside it. Not enough to be official, just enough to warn you. You pause. An old eunuch bows lower than before and says softly, "Your Majesty, some names bring trouble when remembered too early. That should be enough to make you move on." Instead, your eyes return to the marked name outside. The empire believes you own everything. Inside, you are about to learn the first law of the palace. Even the emperor's desire is watched. And sometimes choosing one woman is enough to make the whole harem sharpen its knives in silence. So what happens when the most powerful man in the empire becomes curious about the one concubine everyone wants forgotten? Level 2, the harem list. By the time you leave the morning court, the sun has risen above the palace roofs, turning the yellow tiles into a quiet field of fire. Ministers bow as you pass, guards lower their spears. Every corridor opens before you as if the palace itself is afraid to stand in your way. But when you enter the inner harem, the air changes. The sound of politics fades behind carved doors, replaced by softer dangers, silk brushing against polished floors, red lanterns swaying in the still air, the faint scent of powder, tea, and perfume hiding beneath the incense. Here, no one raises a weapon. No one needs to. A young court lady kneels beside a lacquered table with the registry open before her. She does not look up when you approach. Her brush waits above the paper, ready to record which chamber you visit, which name you speak, which woman receives even a moment too long of your attention. You understand then that the harem has its own court, its own laws, its own memory. In the throne hall, your words become orders. In this place, your glances become rumors. The women bow as you walk past. Some are daughters of powerful houses. Some have waited months for you to notice them. Some lower their eyes with perfect obedience, but their sleeves hide clenched fingers. Every smile is measured. Every silence has a witness. Then you see the marked name again, written on a narrow slip placed near the edge of the registry. The woman attached to it is not the highest ranked consort. Her family is not the strongest. Yet the air around her name feels heavier than the rest. You ask why. The old eunuch at your side hesitates just long enough to tell you that the answer is dangerous. "She has beauty, Your Majesty," he says quietly, "but beauty is not why the palace fears her. A warning like that should close a door. Instead, it opens one in your mind." You continue down the harem corridor, past lantern light and lowered faces. And for the first time since becoming emperor, you are not thinking about the empire. You are thinking about one woman you have never seen. That is how the palace begins to trap you, not with chains, but with curiosity. Level 3, the forbidden concubine. You find her in a side chamber, where the palace grows quieter, as if even the walls have learned not to repeat her name too loudly. Rain touches the roof tiles in soft, uneven taps. Red silk curtains hang from carved beams, moving slightly whenever the wind slips through the cracks. A bronze mirror stands near the wall, reflecting candlelight in broken gold. She kneels when you enter, but she does not tremble. That is the first thing you notice. Most women in the harem perform fear carefully, because fear can look like loyalty when shown to an emperor. But this woman holds herself with a calm that feels almost dangerous. Her robe is simple compared with the brighter consorts you passed in the main corridor. Deep ivory with a narrow red edge at the sleeve. A jade hairpin holds her dark hair in place. Her face is beautiful. Yes. But beauty alone would not make old eunuchs lower their voices. It is her eyes that stop you. They do not ask for favor. They measure the cost of it. You speak her name, and somewhere behind you, the court lady's brush touches paper. Even that tiny sound feels like a door closing. You ask why the palace fears her. She lowers her eyes for a moment, then answers with a voice as quiet as rain. Because the palace fears women who survive without begging. The answer should offend you. Instead, it makes the room feel smaller, more private, more dangerous. You offer her a small token from your belt, a piece of jade, no larger than your thumb. Any other woman might weep, bow deeper, promise eternal gratitude. She only looks at it, then at you. Your Majesty, she says, some gifts are seen before they are touched. For the first time, you understand that your kindness is not invisible. Your attention has weight. Your favor leaves footprints. If you give her anything, the harem will count it. If you visit her again, the Empress will hear of it. If you remember her too often, someone will decide she has lived too long. You came to see the woman behind the warning. You leave knowing the warning was never about what she might do to you. It was about what the palace would do to her because of you. Level 4. The Empress notices the Empress does not summon you like a jealous wife. She does not send a crying maid, or a broken cup, or a desperate message wrapped in silk. She waits until the afternoon court ends, until the ministers have withdrawn, until the palace has enough silence for every word to sound deliberate. Then a senior court lady appears at the edge of the hall, bows with perfect form, and says the Empress has prepared tea. You know at once that this is not an invitation. It is a warning dressed as courtesy. Her Phoenix Hall is warmer than your court chamber, but somehow colder, golden light falls across the carved screen behind her seat. 2 rows of court ladies stand with lowered eyes. A porcelain cup rests near her hand, untouched long enough for the tea to lose its steam. She rises when you enter, bows with flawless grace, and smiles as if nothing in the harem has changed. That smile is the second warning. You sit across from her while the room holds its breath. For a while she speaks only of proper things, the health of the Dowager, the seasonal offerings, the families whose daughters have entered the palace. Then she says the forbidden concubine's name without softening her voice. No anger, no tremble, just the sound of a blade being placed gently on a table. Your Majesty has generous eyes, she says, but in the inner palace, even generosity must be measured. You answer that a single visit means nothing. The Empress looks at the cold tea between you. A single visit means nothing to a man who can go anywhere, she replies. It means everything to women who can only wait behind doors. The words strike deeper than accusation. She is not asking whether you desire the concubine. She is asking whether you understand what your desire will become once others begin using it. If you favor the woman too openly, lesser consorts will fear her. Noble families will study her. Servants will sell whispers about her, and every rival will dress hatred as loyalty to the throne. Then the Empress asks the question that stays with you after you leave. Is she beautiful enough to make your Majesty forget what beauty costs? You walk back through the palace with your face calm and your hands hidden inside your sleeves. But for the first time you understand that the heart of an emperor is not private. It is territory. Level 5. The dangerous favor that night. Rain covers the palace like a secret. No one dares to speak aloud. It runs along the roof tiles, gathers at the carved edges, and falls into the courtyard in thin silver lines. You tell yourself you are only checking on the forbidden concubine because the harem has grown restless, because the Empress has warned you, because a wise ruler should know the truth behind the whispers. But your feet do not take you to the records hall. They do not take you to the council chamber. They take you through a narrow side corridor where the lanterns burn lower and the servants step aside too quickly. By the time you reach her chamber, the guards outside are careful not to look surprised. That is how you know the palace has already begun counting. Inside, the room smells of damp silk, oil lamps, and tea left too long untouched. She stands near the window, not dressed for ceremony, only wrapped in a pale robe with the same jade hairpin holding her hair in place. When she sees you, she bows, but there is no victory in her face. No pride, no hidden smile. Only a quiet fear she is too disciplined to show fully. You tell her not to be afraid. The words sound useless, the moment they leave your mouth. She looks toward the door, where every shadow could be a servant, every servant could be a witness, and every witness could become a weapon by morning. Your Majesty, she says, you should not come here so often. The sentence lands harder than gratitude would have. You ask if she is refusing imperial favor for the first time. Her control almost breaks. I am refusing the funeral that follows it. The room becomes very still. You want to promise protection, but you are beginning to understand that an emperor's promise travels slower than a rumor. You can post guards at her door, but you cannot guard every cup of tea. You can order silence, but you cannot stop lowered voices in the laundry rooms, medicine rooms, and women's corridors. You can raise her higher, but every step upward places her where more knives can see her. She touches the jade token you gave her, hidden now beneath her sleeve. Every time your lantern burns outside my chamber, she whispers, someone in this palace remembers that I am still alive. And that is when your desire changes shape. It is no longer curiosity. It is no longer simple favor. It becomes fear, sharp and human, because you finally understand the cruelty of your own attention. You came to her as the emperor, believing power could make love safer. You leave knowing power may be the reason love cannot survive here at all. Level 6, the hidden pregnancy. The physician kneels for too long before he speaks, and that silence tells you more than any diagnosis could. His forehead is near the floor. His hands hold a folded medical record, sealed with plain thread, not imperial silk, as if the truth inside it is too dangerous to dress beautifully. The room smells of bitter herbs, candle wax, and old paper. Shelves of porcelain jars line the walls. A bronze bowl of dark medicine sits untouched beside the table. Behind a screen, the forbidden concubine stands in stillness, one hand hidden inside her sleeve, her face turned away from the lamp. Before the words come, the physician says she may be carrying your child. For a moment, the palace disappears. There is no throne, no court, no empress, no dowager, no registry of knights and chambers. There is only the sound of rainwater dripping from the eaves, and the terrible softness of what those words should mean. A child. Your child. Her child. Then the palace returns all at once. You see the danger before anyone explains it. If the child is a son, he becomes a future. If he is a future, he becomes a faction. If he becomes a faction, then the woman behind the screen is no longer only loved. She is useful, threatening, and marked. You ask who else knows. The physician's silence tightens. A court lady carried the herbs. A scribe prepared the record. A servant saw the physician enter by the side gate. Already, the secret has more witnesses than it should. Behind the screen she speaks quietly. Your Majesty, do not let them know before you decide what I am. The sentence chills you. She is not asking if you love her. She is asking whether she will be protected as a mother, hidden as a mistake, or sacrificed as a danger. You came into this room as a man terrified for one woman. You leave as an emperor staring at the oldest truth in the palace. A child is never only a child. A child is a name people may kill to write first. Level 7, the palace hunts her by morning. The harem has changed its breathing. No one says the word pregnancy. No one needs to. The women bow as you pass, but their eyes move faster than their bodies. Court ladies whisper behind sleeves. A medicine tray disappears from one corridor and appears in another. A young servant who once carried tea to the forbidden concubine's chamber is suddenly sent to the laundry house, then vanishes before sunset. You order the guards doubled outside her door, but the command gives you no peace. Guards can watch a hallway. They cannot watch a rumor. Inside her chamber, she looks paler than before, though her posture remains perfect. The jade token you gave her is gone from sight. On the table lies a bowl of medicine she has not touched. Beside it rests a folded letter with no name, no seal, only a thin red thread tied around it. You ask who sent it. She says she does not know. You ask why she kept it for the first time. She does not answer quickly. That pause is small, but in the palace, small pauses are where fear begins to grow. You want to trust her completely. You want the world to divide itself into loyal and disloyal, innocent and guilty, hunter and victim. But the harem does not allow such mercy. A woman hunted long enough learns to hide things even from the man trying to save her. She finally lifts her eyes and says, "If I tell you everything, Your Majesty, you may have to punish people I still need alive." The answer strikes harder than a confession. She is not only surviving danger, she is negotiating with it. Outside the window, two court ladies stop speaking the moment your shadow crosses the screen. You realize then that the palace is faster than you. Your seal moves through officials, gates, and formal orders, but a whisper moves through sleeves, kitchens, medicine rooms, and sleeping chambers. Before the ink on your command is dry, you are the emperor. Yet you cannot stand in every doorway, and somewhere in the dark machinery of the harem, someone has already decided that the woman you love must not live long enough to give birth. Level 8. The Dowager intervenes. The Dowager's palace is quieter than any room in the empire, and that is what makes it dangerous. No hurried footsteps, no silk laughter, no young concubines pretending not to listen, only thick curtains, sandalwood smoke, and the bitter smell of medicine cooling in porcelain bowls. When you enter, the Dowager does not rise. She does not need to. Age has taken some strength from her body, but none from her authority. She sits beneath a dark embroidered canopy, her hands folded over a string of jade beads, watching you with the patience of someone who has buried men stronger than you. "You look tired," she says. It sounds almost kind until you hear the blade underneath it. You answer that the affairs of the palace have grown complicated. Her eyes narrow slightly. No, you made them complicated when you allowed one woman to become larger than her rank. The words are calm, but they strike like a decree. You try to speak of loyalty, of innocence, of the child that may come. The Dowager lets you finish because she already knows the weakness in every sentence. Then she asks, "Will you let one woman teach the empire that your heart is easier to move than your throne?" The medicine scent in the room grows heavier. Behind her, an old court lady lowers her eyes as if she has heard this kind of conversation before and seen how it ends. The Dowager gives you choices, each colder than the last. Raise the concubine and start a war of mothers. Hide her and let rumor rot the palace. Remove her before the child becomes a banner. Or wound her publicly so deeply that your enemies believe she no longer matters. You feel anger rise, but it has nowhere safe to go. She is not defending cruelty. She is defending the dynasty. That is what makes her impossible to dismiss. When you leave, the corridors feel longer than before. You understand now that saving the woman you love may require an act that looks exactly like betrayal. Level 9. The decree of mercy. The decree hall smells of ink, old wood, and rain, carried in on the robes of kneeling officials. A long silk scroll lies open before you on the dragon desk. Beside it waits the red brush, the jade seal, and the silence of people who already know this decision will wound someone. Behind a thin curtain, you can feel the Empress listening. Farther away, beyond rooms and gates and watchful servants, the forbidden concubine waits without knowing which version of you will return. The man who promised protection, or the emperor who must make protection look like rejection. You read the prepared words once, then again they call it mercy. They say she will be moved to a secluded palace for her health. They say her attendants will be replaced. They say her name will no longer appear in the nightly registry. Nothing in the decree says exile. Nothing says punishment. Nothing says love. That is how the palace lies cleanly. A minister praises your wisdom for preserving harmony. The phrase almost makes you laugh. Harmony here means the Empress keeps her place. The Dowager keeps the dynasty stable. The officials keep their factions quiet, and the woman you love disappears behind a softer door. You lift the red brush, but your hand does not move at first. You remember her warning, some gifts are seen before they are touched. Now you understand the crueler truth. Some protections must look like abandonment before they can work. If you raise her, they will hunt her openly. If you keep visiting her, they will turn her chamber into a battlefield. If you deny her, perhaps they will believe she no longer matters. Perhaps she and the child will live. The word perhaps is the only mercy left to you. You sign the decree. The jade seal falls with a dull, final sound. At that moment, you do not feel powerful. You feel like a man using the full weight of the empire to push the woman he loves out of reach. When the officials bow, they think the emperor has chosen the throne. Only you know the truth. You have just tried to save her by breaking her heart in public. Level 10, the lonely dragon throne. The palace becomes quiet after the decree, but not peaceful. Peace has warmth. This silence is colder, cleaner, more useful to the people who wanted her removed without leaving blood on the floor. Her chamber is emptied before sunset. The red curtains are taken down. The bronze mirror is wrapped in cloth. The servants who once stood outside her door are reassigned to other corridors, where they learn not to mention her name unless asked by someone powerful enough to survive the answer. In the registry, her place becomes a blank space dressed as procedure. She is not dead. That is what you tell yourself. She has been moved for her health. She has been hidden for her safety. The child, if the gods allow the child to live, will grow somewhere beyond the daily hunger of the harem. You repeat these thoughts like prayers, but they do not soften the sound of the jade seal falling in your memory. Days pass. Ministers praise your restraint. The Empress receives you with perfect courtesy, her phoenix hall balanced again, her tea warm this time. The Dowager sends word that the dynasty has avoided unnecessary disorder. No one says you did well. They do not need to. In the palace, obedience is often mistaken for healing. You sit through court, approve memorials, punish corrupt officials, reward loyal generals, and speak with the calm voice of a ruler who has mastered himself. Outside the palace walls, people still believe you have everything a man could want. Gold, armies, women's songs, written in your name, a throne carved with dragons. But at night, when the lanterns fade and the vast halls become too large for one breathing body, you understand the final cruelty. The throne did not take her from you with chains. It made you sign the order yourself. One evening, a sealed wooden box is placed on your desk with no message. Inside lies the small jade token you once gave her, wrapped in plain silk. No accusation, no farewell. Only the return of a gift that had become too dangerous to keep. You hold it for a long time, feeling how light it is, how impossible. You are still the emperor, the harem still bows, the court still trembles, the empire still waits for your word. But now you know what the dragon throne really gives a man. It gives him the power to choose any woman in the palace, then teaches him that every choice belongs to the dynasty before it belongs to his heart. You once believed power meant no one could take what you loved. Now you understand that power can force you to become the hand that lets it go. You became the most powerful man in the empire. But the throne teaches you the final truth. A man with every woman in the palace may still lose the only one who ever made him feel human. If you want to enter another forbidden imperial story, comment which emperor, dynasty, or palace secret we should step into next.